सदा शिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं कर्वावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Okay, so we had finished the 12th verse, right? We have 13th verse today. Yes. So we'll chant. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Yajna Shishtashina Santaha. Muchyante Sarva Kilbhishaihi. Bhunjate te tvagam papaha. Ye panchatyatma karanat. Okay. So first we look at the words. Yajna Shishtinaha Santaha. So Yajna Shishtinaha Santaha. So actually you can break that further into Yajna Shishta Ashinaha. Yajna Shishta Ashinaha Santaha. Muchyante Sarva Kil Bhishaihi. Bhunjate te. Tvagam has to be broken into tu plus agam. So bhunjate te tu agam papaha. Ye pachanti atma karana. And Anvaya, the sentence formation. Yajnaha shishtaha ashinaha. Santaha sarva kil bhishaihi muchyante. Full stop. Ye tu atma karanat pachanti kama te papaha agam bhunjate. Okay. So in arranging, you have to say Ashinaha. So Ashinaha is the person who eats the food, the eater of the food. What does he eat? Yajna Shishtaha. So Shishtaha means what is left over. Yajnaha means Yajna, of course, the ritual. So Ashinaha Yajna Shishtaha Santaha. That person who eats the food which is left over from the Yajna. What is the food left over from the Yajna called? The other name?
Prasada.
Prasada. So here he is saying that person who eats only prasadam, which is a way of saying what? That you have to offer the food to the Lord first before you eat. What happens to him? Sarva kilbhishaihi muchyante. Kilbhishai is the papams or the transgressions, whatever papa karma you have done, the papa karma phalam of that. Sarva kilbhishaihi muchyante is freed from all papa karma. Tu. Tu here is not the Hindi tu. Tu means but in Sanskrit. So this but is distinguishing the previous sentence from the next sentence. So Yajna Shishtaha Ashinaha Santaha Sarva Kilbishaihi Muchyante Tu. But Ye Atma Karanat Pachanti. They, those people, Atma Karanat Pachanti. Pachanti is what? Cook. So Atma Karanat Pachanti, cook only for yourself. So here please remember Atma is a reflexive pronoun. It is not Satchitananda Atma. What is reflexive pronoun? Simple grammar.
Myself.
Myself.
For
Whatever refers to yourself. So I, myself. That's a reflexive pronoun. So here, Atma Karanat only for themselves, not for Satchitananda. You are very careful about how words are interpreted. So two, but ye Atma Karanat Pachanti, those people who cook only for themselves, te bhunjate, or rather te papaha, those, the papaha here has got a visarga. So it is the first objective case, is referring to the persons. Te papaha, those papis, those sinners. Bhunjate agam. Agam means papam basically. So karmic demerit, if you want to put it in English. Karmic demerit. So the sentence is very clear. Ashinaha yagnashishtaha santaha. Those people who eat prasadam, sarva kilbishaihi bachante, are freed from all karma, papa karma. Tu, but ye atma karanat pachanti, those people who cook only for themselves, which means what? That you have not offered it to the Lord at all. Te papaha agam bhujjate. Those people, they are sinful and they are eating only papa. Okay, so this is very clear one. And here, remember that you have to connect it to all the previous verses. So what have we seen earlier? Karma Yoga was presented as Ishvara Agnya, as the Lord's commandment. That was one presentation. Then Karma Yoga was presented as Yajnaha, as worship of the Lord. Now, a third angle is being presented. Karma Yoga is being presented as a spiritual purifier, Chitta Shodakam, we call it. A mental purifier that is being presented. And you can appreciate this Chitta Shodakam part when, not if you are a Karmi, only as a Karma Yogi, as a Sadhaka who's got Jivan Mukta as an objective. For him only, this Chitta Shodakam, the Jnana Yogyata, Chitta Shuddhi, it's a means of attaining moksha, because without Chitta Shuddhi, he will not be able to go to Jnana. So this is meaningful only for a Karma Yogi, not for Karmi. Because he knows that without Atma Jnanam, one can never attain moksha. And the Upanishad says, Nanya Pantaha Ayanaya Vidyate. No other path can take you to moksha. Okay. Then why should you talk about, because Na Anya Pantaha means what? It means Jnanam only. So if it is only Jnanam which can take me to moksha, then why should I bother about Chitta Shodakam? What Chitta Shuddhi? That is the point. The Shastra says again and again and again and again. Without Chitta Shuddhi, without mental purity, without a certain quietude of the mind, Atma Jnanam is never possible. So, I'll give a very worldly example. Supposing you have an old chair in your house. Okay, it's a very old chair, maybe 10, 15 years old. And you want to repaint it. What is the first thing that you will do?
Of the old paint.
Remove the old paint.
Release the paint.
Remove the old paint.
How do you do it?
I'll
Scrape
sandpaper it down.
Scrape it down.
You sandpaper, scrape it with sandpaper. Okay. So in your mind, you have certain old paint. And as long as that old paint is there, you cannot put on the mind the new paint of Atma Jnana. What is that old paint? Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya. Right? And therefore you have to rub off that old paint. You have to scrape it off. You have to use sandpaper. And what is the sandpaper that I use for purifying the mind?
Chitta Shuddhi.
Karma yoga.
Karma Yoga is the sandpaper. Chitta Shuddhi is the
Result.
destination, the result. So I use the Karma Yoga sandpaper. So if I am a seeker interested in this inner purification, remember the Karma Yogi does not, look down upon material prosperity. Unlike what you may hear from sadhus and sons, there is no reason for you to discard your material things in life. You don't have to throw away all the money. You don't have to throw away all your clothes and wear only one piece of cloth and walk around the place. That is not necessary. But priority should be there. That between the two, if I have to choose between Chitta Shuddhi and material prosperity, then I will choose Chitta Shuddhi. But luckily for us, for most people, for the majority of people, this choice is not necessary. Because the same Karma Yoga which you do may give you material prosperity as a result. Right? You understand, right? There is no difference in the karma that you do as a karmi and as a karma yogi. The only difference is the attitude. The karma yogi does not have, the karma yogi has Easwaran in his life. The karmi does not have Easwaran in his life. The karma yogi offers every action of his as what? As Easwara Archana, Easwara Arpanam. The karmi believes that only he is responsible for results and he does not include Easwara as a factor in his life. And therefore, if let us say that you are a doctor, let us say you are a very well-known doctor, right? And you are getting lots of money. You can choose to live your life in two ways. As a doctor, your job is to heal patients. That is fine. In both cases, let us say you are a very good doctor. In both cases, people are being benefited from your, from your practice. Coming to you, benefits. Whether you are a karma yogi or a karmi, it doesn't matter to the patient, because as long as you are able to help him, he is benefited. So that is not the aspect. Then what differentiates between you, the doctor, a karma yogi, and you, the doctor, a karmi? As a karmi, you may be very good at a job. You may be having a lot of sympathy for your patients. You may be compassionate. You may be even giving free service to some patients who cannot afford it. All this makes you a very good ethical doctor. But if you do not recognize that the ultimate karma phala data, giver of fruits, is not you, it is Easwara, then you are a karmi doctor. You are not a karma yogi. You are a very, very ethical doctor. You will be very well placed in life. You may have lots of money also, but you are a karmi. You are not there on the spiritual path at all, because your objective is not Chitta Shuddhi. Your objective is helping the people. It's a very noble objective. I'm not saying that your objective is only money. There are doctors whose objective is only money. But let us say in this case, you are your doctor who is going by the Hippocrates oath. You are sworn to help the people that you treat. So you are a very ethical doctor. In the eyes of the world, you are a wonderful person. You are a great doctor. You are not money-minded. All those things are there. But in the eyes of Vedanta, you are not a karma yogi. When do you become a karma yogi? When doing the same things, every treatment that you do, every patient that you see is the Lord for you. And therefore you offer all your activities, all your medicines, all your treatments, everything is an offering. It's archana to the Lord. Once the Lord is in your life, you, the doctor, have converted yourself from karma yoga, from a karmi to a karma yoga. Your externally nothing changes. You are still a wealthy doctor. You still have lots of people, lots of patients. You are still a doctor who occasionally, let us say, gives free service to those who cannot afford. Everything remains constant. Everything remains intact. Only one additional factor is added in your life. You are now become a karma yogi, and therefore this material prosperity of yours becomes secondary. Even earlier on, it was secondary, right? But earlier on, the primary one was what? Helping people. Here, your primary thing is, I am going to be helping people, but I will consider everybody as Easwara. Because of that change in attitude, you become a karma yogi, and Chitta Shuddhi becomes your object. Right? People may look down upon you and say that you are foolish, you could have made much more money. Right? It doesn't matter, because in this world, only material prosperity is considered a success. But as a karma yogi, if you find that this material prosperity is coming in your way, then you might choose to disregard it. But if the material prosperity is not coming in your way as a karma yogi, then you can retain that material prosperity. So you can be still prosperous and you can still be a karma yogi. All I am saying is that if it comes to a choice between spiritual prosperity and material prosperity, the karma yogi will choose spiritual prosperity and deprioritize material prosperity. So for him, material prosperity may come, may not come, but chitta shuddhi must come. That is the difference in attitude between a karma yogi and a karmi. But remember that this choice may not have to be made. In fact, for most people, this choice need not be made. They can continue to use their skills for material prosperity. But for them, material prosperity is always secondary. The primary result is always chitta shodhaka. And if those who have studied Ramana Maharishi Upadesha Saram will remember the verse Easwararpitam Nechayakritam Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. It's a very beautiful text. What does it say? Ishvara Arpitam. Ishvara Arpitam, work which is offered to the Lord. How should it be offered? Nechayakritam. Na Ichayakritam. Without any expectations for any particular fruits. What does it do? Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. Chitta Shodhakam helps in purification of the mind, and thereby that purification of the mind becomes a sadhana for jnanam. And therefore, Ishvarpitam Nechayakritam Chitta Shodhakam Mukti Sadhakam. It's a wonderful little text, Upadesha Saram. So, if you dedicate your life to the Lord, and if you consider material prosperity as not the main objective to your life, that is for you, spiritual growth takes predominance, then the work which you do as a karma yogi is called karma yoga, and that karma yoga will lead to mental purity. The mental purity will lead to jnana yoga. The jnana yoga will lead to moksha. So therefore, the third way of looking at this is karma yoga is a chitta shodhaka, mental purifier. And that is why we saw in the second chapter, Neha avikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam apyasya dharmasya prayate mahato bhayat. He says there is no failure in karma yoga, even the smallest material, the smallest dedication to that dharma will free you from great fears. Prayate mahato bhayat. And therefore the karma yogi defines failure not from the standpoint of material success or non-success. In the world, how are we defined? You start a business, you are profitable, you are considered a great success. You run into losses, you are considered a failure. But in karma yoga, the measure of success or failure is not material profit or material gain. The measure of success or failure in karma yoga is whether inner purification, the mental purification has taken place. Whether or not you profit through your business or whether your business runs in a loss is not the indicator. And that is why Krishna says here, Yajna Shishta Ashanaha Santaha. Those people who have converted their life into worship. How do you draw that conclusion from this word? Because Yajna Shishta means prasadam. So those people who eat only prasadam means that people who have converted their life into worship. Which means that every action of their life is going to be Ishvara Arpanam, which is the only way that they can consistently be having Ishvara Prasada. Therefore, Yajna Shishta Shena Santaha is a person who is a karma yogi. He is doing Ishvara Arpanam with every action, every karma phalam, he receives as Ishvara Prasadam. That is why Yajna Shishtaha. Right. So when you offer something to the Lord and you take it back, it's called the prasadaha. All karma phalams are prasada for that, for us. Remember that when you offer to the Lord, there is no such thing as a used thing, because when it comes back from the Lord, it is not second hand, it is not used. In fact, the usage of the Lord grants it sanctity. That's why it's called prasadam, that which makes you happy. And Krishna says, if you do not do that, te papam bhunjate. If you enjoy your life without offering to the Lord, without having Ishvara in your life, without acknowledging His grace, then Krishna says, you are a papi, you are a sinner. So here, remember, we are talking about what we discussed earlier, the Pancha Mahayagnya. Because Yagnya just not, the Deva Yagnya, for example, Deva Yagnya is worship of the Lord. Okay, we are referring that Pancha Mahayagnya called Deva Yagnya. So Deva Yagnya cannot be taken to be restricted to the ritualistic homam that you do around the fire. Right? So even you have to take it as consistently present in your life. Supposing I am in business, I run a shop. What is my attitude? Let us say I am selling stationery in my shop. I have a shop and I have decided to sell stationery. What is the attitude towards the whole work? That is the question. Is the primary one to make money? Or is it that I should contribute to society? That contribution to society should be my primary attitude, that I will help others by doing this. If that is my primary attitude, then the making money need not go away, but the making money becomes a byproduct, a subsidiary objective to my primary one, which is to help others. Making money, there is no harm. And therefore, in all these verses, we should very carefully understand. Why do I say that? Because it is easy to misinterpret the Pancha Mahayagnya as only Vaidika karma. It appears in the Vedas, right? So we can say that is only Vaidika karma and it doesn't apply to my regular work. Because Vaidika karma is very specific. It is mandated in the Vedas. Certain types of karmas are mandated. Certain, prescription nature on how the karma is to be done. All this is there. And therefore, if I'm not doing anything mandated in the Veda, like for example, I'm, let us say, selling pav bhaji. Okay, I'm selling bread and butter, for example. That is not, Veda will not talk about that. So it's easy to say that, okay, that is not part of the Vedic instructions. But that should not be so. The Panchamahabhuta, the Panchamahayagnya has to be understood as all karma. Not just Vaidika karma, but all your worldly activities, Laukika karma also. And then what will happen if in my understanding I include every action, worldly or mandated by Veda, under Panchamahayagnya, then there is a certain attitude in my life, certain bhavana in my life. That bhavana, it converts Laukika into Vaidika. It converts all worldly activities into Vedic activities. And that is why Krishna says, Yagnya Shishtaha. In ritualistic puja, the Shishtam is the prasadam, the fruit or the laddu, whatever you offer. But when I convert my business into puja, when I convert my making of laddus into puja, it becomes a Manushya Yagnya, which is part of the Panchamahayagnya. And the primary product there, the primary objective there is my contribution to society. Whatever profits I make, so there is no ban on making profits. Whatever reasonable profits I make, I should not make it, a way of fleecing people. So whatever reasonable profits I make become shishtam, prasadam for me. And if I do that, sarva kilbishayi muchyante, I become free from all the papams. So what kind of papams? Shankara uses a particular word over here, which I will say because it's a very important word. Suna. Sa with a long U. Suna. So Suna in Hindi can mean lonely also. Okay, but that's not the meaning over here. Suna is a technical word which has got the meaning of karma, which any papam, any unavoidable papam, so any karma which is got the potential to hurt somebody is called papam, right? So any unavoidable karma which you do, which is papam, is called suna, right? So it need not be just people. If you are disturbing the ecological balance, you are hurting the environment. That is also suna. So these unavoidable papam are called panchasuna, 5 papams. Okay. Why are they called suna? Because of the way in which we are built. Because the way in which nature has built us, we are helpless in not committing them. So we commit them regularly, and because we commit them regularly, we have to neutralize these papams regularly, which is the reason why Shastram says do Pancha Mahayagnya regularly. So Shankara uses the word suna. Pancha Mahayagnya neutralizes suna. Very important for us to remember this. And even though we say unavoidable papa karma, right? So we have to be practical in today's world. So in practical terms, you can take this unavoidable meaning to include all those which are strictly speaking avoidable, but all the compromises which as a grahastha, as a householder, you have to make in your house, in your profession, in your interaction, all these are suna. And there is, the reference to this is actually found in a text called Manusmriti, Panchasuna. So I'll just read out for you. Very important. So he says, Panchasuna grahastasya panchayagnya pranashyati. Right? That is the second line of the verse. Panchasuna grahastasya panchayagnya pranashyati. So Panchasuna, he says, the 5 sunas, grahastasya, belonging to a grahastha, panchayagnyat pranashyati, are destroyed by panchayagnya. A very important line. And the first line names these panchasunas. Now they are a bit, odd over here, but anyway, since it is there, since we are discussing that Manusmriti verse, I will read out the full verse to you. It says, Kandanam Peshanam Chulli Udakumbascha Marjani Panchasuna Grastasya Panchayagnya Pranashyati. The second line is very simple. It says all these Panchasunas, they are destroyed by doing Panchamahayagnya. And he also says all the Panchasunas, they belong to Agrasta. So those are destroyed by Panchamahayagnya. And the first line gives the various, references to what are these Panchasunas. Now they are very, specific to a particular period. So instead of taking it too literally, we have to look at what it really means. The first one is Kandanam. So Kandanam is there is a vessel and there is a rod, and it is used for what? For dehusking grains. What do? You put the grains in that big vessel and then you take the rod and you bang. So what happens? Because of the banging, the grain gets dehusked. The wheat, for example, the wheat separates out and the husk separates out, and then you separate the two. Why is it called a suna? Why is it called that it is potential, potential for harm? Because it's under the classification of suna. How can my, using a rod to beat the grain, to segregate the husk and the grain, how can it become suna?
We might
Because
actually
all
kill
the
some insects.
small insects, etc., are being pounded.
Exactly. So that potential is there. So it is involuntarily, it is not deliberate. You are not trying to kill the insect, but it's involuntary. So that is Kandanam. Similarly, Peshanam. So Peshanam is a grinder. Okay. In the old days, you had that massive big, stone bottom part and a big pestle which you move around. Like for doing, even today in Kerala, for grinding, that dosha ka, this thing, you use that. For grinding the thing for dosha, you use that big thing. There also, You can use it for grinding chutney. You can use it for grinding grains. All this you can do. There are also possible violences there. How? Some insects may be there. Then there is chulli. Chulli we all know. Chulli is what?
For what?
Chula. What is chula?
Oh,
Fire.
Fireplace.
So when
Fire.
you're burning wood,
Yeah, fireplace, right? It's a chula was the older form of fireplace. Again, what? Possible death of insects. Then udakumbha. So udakumbha, kumbha is a pot, uda is water, udakumbha, water pot. What is there? Some insects may drown. Margini. So margini is a broom. What is the violence here? Same thing. When you are using the broom, some insects may be killed while you are sweeping. Okay, so this is the specific things for that time and that place. You can replace this with modern instruments. You can flate, insect repellents, all these things. So anything which you do, for example, if you have a baby in the house and there are mosquitoes, you will use a mosquito repellent. So you strictly speaking avoidable, right? But as a grahastha, we don't do. So avoidable papams, strictly speaking, they're avoidable, but we take them as unavoidable because of the way in which we are situated. So these are all called under the definition of suna. All these are classified as panchasuna. They are unavoidable. And strictly speaking, we cannot take, for example, putting flit in, killing cockroaches with some sort of a spray. All those cannot be taken as suna, but it's a compromise understanding because we do need to get rid of vermin, right? So it must be that kind of a unavoidable situation if it's a compromise. But you cannot extend it indefinitely. You cannot say that this traffic policeman stopped me and therefore I had to pay 100 rupees and that is suna. That is not. Bribing other people is definitely not suna. So this is the correct understanding is something which is really unavoidable. At the most, as a compromise, it is unavoidable. And therefore, this kind of harmless karma is, even in spite of our best efforts, this harmful karma is being done by me as part of my daily life, right? And so somebody said very nicely, life survives upon life. Some amount of harm is necessary to survive. And what is the reason for this? Free will is the reason for papa. Remember, without free will, there is no papa. If a tiger kills a goat, the tiger doesn't have the free will to stop himself from killing the goat. So there is no papam there. But if you kill a chicken, yes, you have got free will. You can choose to eat a cucumber instead, but no, you chose the chicken. That is definitely papa. Okay, that is different because that's, by the way, that is deliberate papam. And here we are talking about panchasuna, those which are unavoidable papam. All the pancha mahayagnya, all these things are meant for neutralizing this kind of papam. And so Krishna is pointing out that you do so many things, killing bugs, killing germs as you walk, killing mosquitoes, killing cockroaches. The pancha mahayagnya is prayashchitam, penance for all of that. And so he says, Bhunjate te tvagam papaha ye pachantyatma karanat. In our tradition, especially traditional households, in any yajna, for example, if food is being served after the yajna, it is always shishtam, it is always prasada from the Lord. And traditionally in every house, I don't know how many of you have witnessed that, but at least in my grandmother's house, I used to witness that. When food was cooked, there was one morsel placed in front of the Lord first. Only after that was placed, the rest was taken away as shishtam, as prasada, and then you could eat. And therefore, offering to the Lord is deva yajna. It's compulsory. And if you don't do that, and therefore he says, ye pachanti atma karana, you are eating only for yourself without making the offering to the Lord, then you are a sinner. You are eating the prasada is the byproduct, the incidental benefit of that cooking. The main thing is the offering to the Lord. The food cooked in the house is a arpanam, Ishvara arpanam. The fact that you eat the rest of it is incidental. It is not the main reason for the cooking. And because of that, annam, food, becomes yagna shishtam, yagna prasad. Okay. A very, very important verse, which we should always keep in mind as householders. And more importantly, this attitude, we should try to convey to our children also, because it is easy for children not to be exposed to this kind of thinking processes. So very, very beautiful, very sacred thinking processes. Okay. Now let us look at verse number 14. So we will chant. Please unmute yourself. Annad bhavanti bhutani.
Bhavanti bhutani
Parjanyat anna sambhavaha. Yajñād bhavati parjanyaha. Yajña karma samudbhavaha. Okay. So we look at the words again. Annat. Annat means from food. Bhavanti bhutani. Annat bhavanti bhutani. All bhutas. Bhutas here are what? All creatures, all jivas are born from annam alone. Annat bhavanti bhutani. All jivas are born from annam alone. And parjanyat anna sambhavaha. This, the birth of annam. Anna sambhava means the birth of annam, birth of food. Parjanyat, it takes place from the rain. So this is a cycle is being talked about, the cycle of the world. From food, all creatures are born. Food is born from rain. So parjanyat anna sambhavaha. So this cycle has to be very carefully followed, sequence to be carefully followed. Two have been mentioned. From rain, food is born. From food, all creatures are born. Then yajñāt parjanyaha bhavati. So from yajñaha, parjanyaha, rain, bhavati, rain is born. And karma samudbhavaha yajñaha. So born from karma is yajñaha. Okay. So all creatures are born from food. Food is born from rain. Rain is born from yajñaha. Yajñaha itself is born from karma. Very nice verse. You can rearrange the wordings. Annat bhutani bhavanti. Living beings are born from food. Parjanyat anna sambhavaha. Food is born from rain. Yajñat parjanyaha bhavati. Rain is born from yajñaha. Yajñaha karma samudbhavaha. Karma is born. Yajna is born from karma. Okay. So a fourth view is being presented of karma yoga. Now karma yoga is presented as dharma itself. And the definition of dharma is dharana dharma. That which sustains, that which maintains, dharanam, that which supports the harmony of the creation is called dharma. The harmony of the environment itself is being called dharma. Why is that view being taken, that an entire environment itself has to be supported? Only then can you be dharmic. So you have to look at the thought processes of Krishna over here. Krishna is saying what? All of us are integral parts of creation. And if everybody is an integral part of creation, obviously everybody's life is interconnected with other people's life. So I am an integral part of creation. My life is interconnected with the life of fellow human beings. Not only that, my life is interconnected with the life of animals. My life is interconnected with the life of plants. My life is interconnected with the life of forests. My life is interconnected with oceans and rivers. My life is interconnected with the seasons itself. My life is connected with the environment. And therefore, all other living beings, remember, the only person among all living beings who has the capacity to disturb this harmony, this connection which I have with other human beings, or the animals, or the plants, forests, rivers, oceans, seasons, environment. No animal has the capacity to disturb that harmony, to disturb that connection. Plants will not create environmental problems, right? Animals will not create environmental problems because plants and animals are programmed. Instinctively, they live a life of harmony with nature, with the environment, because they don't have free will. But the Lord has given me a unique power called free will, which is due to my very strong intelligence, Buddhi Shakti. Using that intelligence, I have the power to convert this creation into a wonderful heaven, or to convert it into hell and destroy the whole creation. So if the earth can be destroyed, no animal or plant will ever destroy it. Only a human being will destroy the earth. And we have proof of this. Year after year, century after century, the most destructive person and creature in this world is what? A human being. And therefore Krishna is saying, you do not believe in Easwara, does not matter. You do not believe in moksha, doesn't matter. Don't believe in Punyam also, doesn't matter. You need not follow karma yoga for the sake of purification, right? You may be an atheist, but whether you are an atheist or a believer, you have to accept the harmony of the creation, because every second of your life shows you that entire creation is interrelated only. Therefore, you cannot lead a life of irresponsibility. You should be a responsible citizen. You should know that everything that happens in this creation is a process, a cyclic process. You require oxygen to breathe in, to survive. Without oxygen, you cannot survive. And the nature has limited amounts of oxygen, right? And therefore, the Lord has created a very beautiful arrangement. What is the arrangement? You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen, you breathe out carbon dioxide. Then the plants are there, trees are there. They breathe in what you breathe out. So they take in carbon dioxide, they release oxygen. Thus, there is a cycle. Your waste is the input for the plant or the tree. The plant's waste is oxygen, which is your input. We find that we didn't invent or create this kind of a arrangement. The cycle is already existing. It's already established. Man and nature are interconnected. And therefore, as the number of people grow, as the human population increases, the need for oxygen increases, the output of carbon dioxide increases. What should you do? Very simple. It doesn't require any great thought. No rocket science are required. You should have more trees and more plants. But what do we do? In the name of development, we destroy individual houses. One bungalow which has a lot of trees around it is destroyed. It's taken over by a promoter. That promoter builds 50 flats in one building. He gives you 2 flats, you are happy. But you have destroyed the trees. You have destroyed the very source of oxygen. And therefore, this goes on and on. So one building comes, 2 building comes, there is no problem. But when it keeps happening, what happens? The cycle is broken. Sooner or later, the trees are going to be inadequate. There is going to be inadequate oxygen in the world. Who is going to be sufferer? We. And therefore, this cycle, this world cycle, it indicates harmony. In this, for the universe to survive, everything has to be in a cycle. Because cycles are required in creation. Why? There is a law called the law of conservation of matter and energy. Right? So Krishna is taking one cycle here to show how harmonious creation is. And that is why he says, this from this whole cycle has been taken. From food, living beings are born. For food, you require rain. For rain, you require yajna. For yajna, you require karma. Right? And there is another sloka somewhere. Annat rasanaiva bhutva. Annat rasanaiva vriddhim prapya. Annarupa prithivyam viliyate. Yad annamaya koshaha. So yad annamaya koshaha. Then annamaya kosha, the body of yours, annat rasanaiva bhutva, is born from annam alone. Annat rasanaiva vriddhim prapya, grows because of annam alone. Annarup prathivyam viliyate, resolves on its death. This annamaya kosha, it goes back to Prithvi as what? Annam rupam, annam alone. Your body, which is born from annam, sustained by annam, goes back into the earth as annam. For what? For the worms who will destroy your body when it is going into the earth. And therefore, the question, of course, is how can you say that my body is born from food? So Shankara here gives a small explanation. He says, annam is consumed by the man and the woman, okay, the parents. So in the male body, the annam becomes what is known as retaha. Retaha is the sperm in the male body. In the female body, it becomes what is known as lohitam, the egg. So Shastra gives two names, retaha for sperm and lohitam for egg. See, at the time of conception, the retaha and the lohitam, the sperm and the egg, they join together to become the garbha, the fetus. And there is a learning from all this. Shastra gives all these statements not just for knowledge. It gives us statements for us to be able to assimilate. What is that? Before I was born, now here of course I means I, the body. Before I was born, what was I? I was garbha, a fetus. Before I was fetus, what was I? I was retaha and lohitam, sperm and egg. And what does Shankara say? Annam is consumed by the parents, and that annam alone becomes retaha and lohitam. So if I was sperm and egg before I became a fetus, what was I there before that?
Annam.
I was dal and roti. Okay. So this dal and roti conversion into a baby, it's a biochemical process which no science is able to replicate. And how is this dal roti annam born? Parjanyat sambhavaha. Because of rain alone, annam comes. Without annam, there is no annam without rains. Without rains, we cannot produce annam. We may have enough seeds, but seeds alone are not enough. We require rain. And the Krishna says, Parjanyat anna sambhavaha. And we all know that in 1 year, if there is no rain, how many severe problems are there? In fact, there are cases where wars have been fought over water. It was not very long ago that there was a complete, long-standing dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, caused by water alone. Therefore, rain is the greatest blessing of the Lord, because of which we are surviving. We don't recognize, but the year that rain fails, that time we are all very disturbed. And therefore, Krishna is saying that all beings are born out of annam. Annam is born out of rain. And they should be very considered a very great blessing, right? And therefore, Parjanya is a natural phenomenon which we require. And here comes the crux. What is responsible for rain? So Krishna says, Yajnat bhavati parjanya. So here Yajna means not just the ritual, but the consequence of the ritual. So the Adarishtam, the invisible factor of the Yajna, the invisible result of the Yajna, which is what? Which is Punyam only. So this Punyam is also known as Adarishtam. Remember, every Yajna gives the Adarishta Phalam, which is Punyam. Which is, out of that Punyam is the word Yajna. Out of that Punyam, which is coming out of Yajna, out of that Punyam, rain is born. So when you say from Yajna rain is born, You have to understand it correctly. From the yajna, Punyam is born. Because of that Punyam alone, rain is born. Right? How is this to be understood? Shankara gives us commentary. He says, your offerings in the yajna, so there can be ghee, there can be fruits. Your offering in the yajna, what happens to those offerings? They reach the Aditya Devata. What is Aditya Devata? This is not the sun god, okay? I mean, this is not the sun. Remember that Devata is the presiding deity of the sun. So there is a sun which is the physical body, which we call Surya Mandalam, it is called in Sanskrit, or it is called the Surya Golakam. That physical sun which you see is not Aditya Devata. Aditya Devata is the presiding force over the physical sun. So Shankara says the offerings reach Aditya Devata, and once the offering has reached Aditya Devata, what must he do? He must give it back to you as prasadam, because that is the role of a Devata. The role of yajna is you offer, and what you get back is prasadam. So when your offerings reach Aditya Devata, he has to give it back to you as prasadam. And to deliver this prasadam, what does it do? Because of that solar energy of his, because the heat which he generates, with that heat, he sucks up the water from the oceans and lakes in the form of evaporation. And then what does he do? That sucked up water vapor, he delivers it to Vayu Devata to carry it to the clouds. And from the clouds, Varuna Devata delivers the water in the form of rain. So this is Shankara's commentary. Offerings reach Aditya Devata. Aditya Devata sucks up the water from the oceans and lakes, hands it over to Vayu Devata, who carries it to the clouds, and then Varuna Devata delivers that water from the clouds in the form of rain. See, they called it Punyam those days. Nowadays we call it ecological balance. So when you are cutting the forest, when you are cutting trees, this process is being disturbed. The rains do not come. Deforestation causes the rains to falter. And that is the cause. And we say the ecological balance is disturbed, but they say yajna was not done properly. You have to take the laksyartham of yajna. The vachyartham is what? The particular ritual itself. That is the vachyartham. That is a karma. But the lakshyartham is what? It is the karma phalam of yajna. The karma phalam of yajna is adrishtam, which is punyam. From that, so whenever you say yajna bhavati parjanyaha, you have to understand that from the karma phalam of yajna, which is punyam, so punyat bhavati parjanya. From that punyam alone comes the rain. So now you can see the connection, right? Living beings are born because of food. Food is born because of rain. Rain is there because of the balance of nature, because of harmony of nature. The next question is, how do you maintain this balance? And therefore Krishna gives the answer, yajna karma samudbhavaha. One maintains the balance of nature only by karma yoga, only by avoiding the exploitation of nature, only by respecting nature, by revering the creation, you will maintain the balance. You need not bring about harmony of nature. Okay, we need not do anything positive to bring about the harmony of nature, because nature is already harmonious. What I have to do is very simple. I should avoid disturbing that harmony. The human being is the only person who can disturb the harmony. Okay, so this is, it's like, after retired. When I was retired, when I was working, of course, I was not there in the house most of the time, so everybody is very happy. So now that I'm at home all the time, and my wife is like in the kitchen, she's cooking. So I will go and say, how can I help you to cook? What will she say?
You can help by sitting out.
You go do your
Stay
work.
away. Stay away.
That is the best way. So she says, the best service you can do is to go and read your book. So Krishna is saying the same thing. You don't need to do anything. The best service is non-interference. Krishna says, you don't need to bring harmony in creation. I have already created it. You just make sure that by your interference, you do not destroy the harmony, you do not pollute the water, you do not pollute the air, you do not cut the trees. And therefore, here comes the karma. Karma has to come from me alone. And therefore, I am born out of karma. And having been born out of karma, the karma is born out of me. Therefore, I and my karma are mutually dependent, are interdependent. And therefore, if I have to continue to live in society, I have to keep contributing to society. Then only the cycle is complete. It cannot be a one-way contribution. I cannot just take from society. I have to contribute also to complete the cycle. And therefore, yajna karma samudbhavaha. And you will supply one more line over here. Karmas are born out of living beings. Then only the cycle is complete. And Shankaracharya clarifies here, as I said earlier, that yajna refers to adrishta karma phalam. And that's why yajna is said to be born out of karma. Remember that we are all natural consumers, but we should consistently remind ourselves that our role is not just as consumers, our role is also as contributors. And therefore, man has to move away from greed to need. Mother Nature, Prakriti, will provide enough for our needs, but Prakriti cannot provide enough for our greed. And if you don't act in that appropriate manner, then Prakriti is endangered. And when Prakriti is endangered, she will hit back. She will hit back by way of global warming, by way of floods, by way of tsunamis, by way of pandemics. The only way we can keep this ecological balance and prevent Mother Nature from hitting back at us. And remember that if Mother Nature hits back at us, there is no force which we have, no science which we have. We can stop her. If you want to prevent that, only one way is there. Contribute by way of Pancha Mahayajna. So with this, I'll stop for the day. Any questions?
Acharya.
Um,
As per you said, animals don't have free will. I always had this question. So, how is their next birth is decided, like to be born as a human, like for moksha, like
they have
the
Sanchita
other?
Karma, right? So, and it is the Karma Phala Data who decides that when this current birth is over, animal's birth is only for the purpose of exhaustion of Prarabdha Karma. Animal doesn't generate fresh karma. So once the Prarabdha Karma is exhausted, then from Sanchita, a new bunch will come out, which might make him another animal again, not a human being. That's the role of the Karma Phala Data, not of the animal.
Yeah. So, so as we discussed, like Manushya Janma is a combination of Punyam and Papam.
Yeah.
So, how does an animal accumulate Punyam to be born as a human?
It is there in the Sanchita box, no?
Okay.
Sanchita has Punyam and Papam both. It just happens that the predominantly Papam portion has given birth to animal body. It
Right.
doesn't mean Sanchita is exhausted. Sanchita has got lots of Punyam and Papam. So the next could be purely Papam, could be purely Punyam, could be a mixture also. Which body he gets depends upon the Lord, what he gives.
Oh, okay. That's what I had a question. How is that decided? The next birth.
Decided by the Lord. We have no role to play in that. So we cannot question that.
Okay, sorry. Thanks.
Yes, June.
Om Raviji.
Om.
I have two questions. The first one is related to when we say about karma yoga, the bhavana is what makes the difference in the actions.
Yeah.
There is another Sanskrit word called sankalpa, and for me they are quite similar, but could you explain about the difference between sankalpa and bhavana?
Bhavana is attitude. Sankalpa is a resolution. Say, when you're doing a homa, for example, you're doing a puja, okay? So your bhavana is what? Your attitude is that I am a karma yogi. So you have Easwaran in your life. The attitude is that I am a karma yogi. I am doing this for Chitta Shuddhi. But let us say that you are wanting something specific out of that. For example, there is a puja called Avahanti Home, where you are asking for wealth. Remember, the bhavana is that of a karma yogi because you are having Easwaran in your life. The attitude is there. You have faith in the Vedas. That is why doing the puja. So you are a karma yogi or you are a Vaidika. But you are asking for something. You are saying, I want some money. Avahanti Home is for generating wealth. So the request for money, that is a sankalpa. You can do it the other way around and say, I want Chitta Shuddhi. First request is for Chitta Shuddhi.
Okay.
Sankalpa is a resolution. Attitude is completely different. Attitude is there throughout as a Vaidika. Sankalpa can change from ritual to ritual.
Okay. Thank you. Much clearer now.
Yes, Indiraji?
Yeah,
Ravi,
Acharya.
sorry, I have a second question.
Yeah, sorry, John, go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry. The second question is related to, for example, when we talk about the suna,
Yeah.
the unavoidable papam, like medical researchers, they need to do experiments with some rats, and it's part of their duty.
Yeah.
And it's suna under their duty, but when they choose to, with their free will, to be medical doctors or medical researchers, they know that they have to experiment with living beings.
Yes.
So they're using their free will, knowing their consequences of the actions will be papam.
Yes.
But as part of their duty, it's unavoidable to commit this papam. So in this case, the suna that the medical doctors are doing is considered suna, or
It's
is
suna, definitely suna.
suna?
Because
Even though they use their free will?
unavoidable, so I didn't say because you can't use free will, right? Now, for example, the compromise portions of killing a mosquito, you can use your free will and choose to get bitten by the mosquito. But you don't because it's not convenient. So that's similar.
Well, I'd like to share this. My son is a biomedical engineer, so he does experiments on rats. And this is something which really bothered him, that, he had to euthanize them.
Yeah.
So my suggestion to him was that every time you do this, you ask for their forgiveness, that you do this for the good of humanity. And that kind of, helped him.
Yeah, so it's basically the same thing. Here you are saying that all those can be neutralized through Panchamahayagya.
Okay. So no need to change the profession, because you
It's
choose
for
the
the greater
profession with your
good,
free
right?
will.
It's for the greater good. So as long as you
Okay.
ensure that unnecessarily pain is not being inflicted,
Mhm.
and that's necessary. To ensure that minimum pain is inflicted.
Thank you, Ravi.
These are all very gray areas, but the ultimate thing is, what am I doing it for, and what is the objective of doing it? What is my main purpose for doing it? Is it for helping other people? Then it is okay.
Okay,
And of
thank
course, you have to do the prashchita karma. You have to pray for it or do the Panchamahayagya. If you have destroyed a tree, you plant a tree. Simple things like that. Yes, Indiraji.
Acharya. Yeah, so about this consuming non-vegetarian, like we know that now we are not supposed to cause any harm, but like being a mother, and we are into this learning, it is my purely about myself and my son. So whole family is against, me stopping my son from not eating non-veg. They are like, okay, why you are forcing your ideas into him. He's still young, like nutrition part, or like whole family enjoys non-veg. So even the kid also with this process. So how do we, of course, I don't want to change the whole family, but is it okay if I force my son not consuming non-veg, or like, should I just leave it being ignorant? Because I feel bad whenever he starts eating and then I'm not taking any action. I feel responsible for his punyam.
See, in a family, it's difficult, I know. But if it's not the extended family, like if your husband and wife itself are having a problem about this, then it becomes difficult. But if it is the extended family which is having a problem, you simply have to explain to your son that I'm a vegetarian and you won't get non-veg in my house. I don't see any problem with that. There are hundreds of non-vegetarian households in the country. And let me tell you, this business about non-veg giving nutrition is all rubbish. You don't necessarily need non-vegetarian nutrition. Vegetables are enough to give you complete nutrition.
Yeah, because they literally see him getting leaner.
No,
So they judge
that's
him
all.
based with
They're
the
all
look.
trying to pressurize you. You just ignore them. Say it's my life, it's my son, I'm vegetarian, that's it. When he's 18 years old, he can choose to be non-veg. Until then, he's veg.
Yeah, like you said, there are conflicts between the wife and husband, like within the family itself, like that conflict is there. So I can be firm and strong, right? Now, consequences are going to be there.
You can be firm and strong. Or you can simply say that I am going to do what I do, I will not eat, and the rest can eat and do what they want. That is another way.
Yeah, that's happening already. Just that going one step ahead, like me thinking about his, because he's unaware. He just enjoys whatever we give. If I don't give,
you
it's
have
okay.
to tell him, tell him, and this is it, and this is my view. And, that's it.
Okay.
But I do understand that if your husband is eating non-veg, and then there's a problem.
Yes, that's what is a conflict. Like, if he forces me to feed him. So that's the.
No, that of course. See, the point is it a new development? That's all. It's not so simple a question, right? When you got married, did you know you was a vegetarian? Or were you non-vegetarian that time? So then it's a bit unfair on him. If you have now become vegetarian and he continues to be non-vegetarian, then it's a bit unfair on him because he wants to eat and you don't want to give him. Things have changed between you.
Yeah, that's the problem. I think.
So then you give him non-veg. You give him non-veg, make food for him, but you don't eat yourself. That is the simplest solution.
Okay. Okay.
There are no black and white lines over here. Everybody has to work out on their own how to deal with it. Yes, Mita.
Acharya ji, I have a question relating to 13th verse, and that is the fine line between this feels slightly dualistic, where we say whatever we cook, we offer it to the Lord as Ishwar, basically, offer it to the Lord and then accept it as prasadam. So I actually belong to a family since 50 years that every meal is presented to the Lord from breakfast till dinner.
Correct.
And there's a fine line between the food is actually being offered to a statue, and yes, we must see the Lord in everything. But what about offering the food out to human beings? A lot of people ridicule, sometimes prasad kutta kha gaya, ya prasad bacche ne aake utha liya before it is even offered, and then people are getting angry at that child. Why did you eat? Isn't the Lord in the child? We offer milk to Shivji, which is proper on Shivratri, and it is being wasted. It's going in drains. Why are we not offering the milk to human beings? Where is that fine line between recognizing?
It doesn't stop you from having, it's very difficult to visualize a human being as a Lord. Let me tell you. And different human beings are on different days. Whichever person comes to your door on a different day, same person won't come again and again, right? And it's difficult to visualize your husband or your father or your mother as a Lord. That is why you have a deity whom you visualize. Because that has to be a symbolism which everybody in the family accepts. Without that, there is no Ishwara in your life.
But we must go beyond that then,
it is
right?
not the
because
stone.
A lot of people stop it there only. I've seen so
many
in my own family.
Smita, it's not the deity made of stone which you're offering it to. That is only a pratika, it's only a symbolism. Why do you salute the national flag? It's only a piece of paper, right? A piece of cloth.
That's true.
You're invoking the whole nation on the flag. You are invoking Ishwara onto that statue. So you are not offering to the statue, you are offering to the very Lord himself. If you can visualize every human being as a Lord, you can do that also. But can you at this stage?
But,
that is the question.
And isn't that the aim though of developing being a Karam Yogi? Because Karmi we are only offering, and I feel a lot of people are only offering for material benefit. I'll offer this to the Lord, I'll get this. They don't go beyond to Chit Shuddhi, because from Karmi, you're not a Karam Yogi then if you're just offering and stopping there. So I guess it's an individual's journey to go beyond from just offering
If
and
you're
going to offer
offered
to
to the
everyone.
Lord with or without a selfish motive, you are still a karma yogi because Lord is there in your life. The karma yogi doesn't offer at all. I mean, the karmi doesn't offer at all. The karmi does not recognize Ishvara. So there is no question of him being a devotee. If you are offering to the Lord, you can offer, as you say, you can offer with a very selfish motive that what will I get in return? You can do that.
Yep.
But the point is that you offer to the Lord, right? You invoke the Lord. So you're a karma yogi anyway. That is the starting point. Chitta Shuddhi, Smita, is a very, very, far away point for most people. There can be a lot of karma yogis who invoke the Lord, but who have not gone to Chitta Shuddhi at all. 90% of karma yogis, 90% of devotees, they invoke the Lord for selfish purposes.
So in my case, like we have a lot of homa, yagna, and abhishekam and everything, but with the motive. And somehow, like I have to be part of it. I don't know. During Sankalpa, they say, for wealth and health and this and that, and I inside my like heart say no, just for Chit Shuddhi. So will that be accepted or not?
That is fine. I mean, everybody's sankalpa is his own.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as a family sankalpa, right?
Okay.
The point is you are invoking. You are a karma yogi anyway. You are a devotee. So you are invoking for Chitta Shuddhi, so you are an advanced devotee. They are invoking for money and health. They are also devotees, but they are Manda and Madhyama. It is only the Uttama devotee who asks for Chitta Shuddhi.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that you have to make everybody into Uttama devotee. They are that's not possible. You can't change other people. They can only change themselves.
So, sir, the way, last question, like, the milk is like going and all that. So how we will, justify that is going to deity only?
He is going to
Because
Ishvara. It's being
Ishvara.
wasted. Okay, it's being wasted. That's
but it's
fine.
going into Dharti, Panch Mahabhuta. It's like that.
So you can't justify the waste of the milk, okay? It's
Okay.
wasted.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can say, is everything that you do, is it non-wasteful? If it is not, then don't look at the milk as being wasted. It's an offering. That way, even if you pour water, and water is also being wasted.
Right.
So this argument that I could have given it to the poor people, that is no argument because you can always get more milk and give it to the poor people. There is no shortage of milk on this earth. That argument is that of an atheist. He's trying to discourage you. I would say that yes, I will pour this milk, and if it makes you happy, I will give 10 liters of milk more to the small kids. What is your problem in life?
Okay. Okay.
Your devotion is your own. Nobody has a right to talk about it. And that's that thick skin you should develop from day one. That my devotion is mine.
Okay.
Yes, Reshma ji.
Yeah, Om Acharya ji, I have a question related the death and the life. Like as in the sessions we heard that once a person is dead, he's just changing the cloth. Atma remains there itself.
Yeah.
So why when a person dies, the Panditji say that you don't have to do not have to touch the god for 12 days and you have to give offer the food
These
to
are
the
all
cow.
rituals. I mean, this are laid down in your various books. You can choose to believe them. You can choose not to believe them. It doesn't make a difference. From the point of view of the anatma is always impure. So whether you touch the body or not, you are still impure. From the point of view of the atma, you cannot touch anyway. So you're always pure.
Okay, and the food that we offer to the cow for 12 days, does it receive to the person who's expired, who left the body?
See, the ritual is that you keep offering for 9 days or 10 days or 12 days because you're trying to give him food for his journey. Okay. Now it's only a ritual. That's to make sure that remember your ancestors for some time. But really speaking, the Jivatma is a spirit, right? It doesn't require your food. So logically, you can't try to connect over there. The whole thing is meant as a ritual to enable you to remember that. It's presented as giving food to your ancestors, but it's not really going to give food to anybody.
So is it okay if I do the puja, I mean, in the 12 days, I mean, do we have to follow the Panditji's advice?
It depends on how much of a believer, you're in the Veda or in your Pandit.
Because 12 days, if I leave the temple like this, the dust is coming up and the god is, I mean, everything is so.
It depends on you, I would say. Largely, it depends upon you. Ritualistically, you're not supposed to do it. But if you don't believe in it, that's it for you. There's no problem. But there are so many things like going to the temple when you're on periods. So that's
Yeah.
according to the rule of the temple. But it doesn't really, from the point of the Lord, I think it makes no sense. But then, as believers, we don't do it because it's the rule of the temple. So getting into all these, aspects is not what Vedanta intends. Vedanta tries to make you understand what is the reason. The reason here is simple. It is that there are certain rules. You follow the discipline or not going. As simple as that. If the rule is there that you should not do puja, it's okay. 10 days you don't do puja.
Okay.
And if you believe in it, if you don't do, it's fine.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
Vasanta
you.
ji.
Thank you, Acharya.
Last question for the day, Vasanta ji. Okay, she's not there. Fine. So with this, we'll stop. Thank you.
Sir, I have a question. May I please ask?
Yes, Ritu. Go ahead.
Sir, you said Panchamaha Yajna neutralize the Panchasuna.
Yes.
So, will it be right to refer to them as Prayashchita? Because Prayashchita, as I remember, you said is not a Vedic mandated karma.
Prayaschitta karma is mandated in the Vedas for specific, what do you call, sins. But Panchamaha Yajna is general, where they are not specified. Like these things like killing mosquitoes, all those things are not specified. Or killing cockroach by walking over, all those things are not specified. So Panchamaha Yajna is taken as daily cleansing of whatever little papams you accumulate.
Okay.
Okay. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.